Yeah, and this is Biden responding to a question about whether or not he's plans to stay in the game come 2024. Definitely an interesting response.
Have you decided whether you are going to run for re-election in 2024? You haven't set up a re-election campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss him. No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for re-election. That's my expectation.
What the fuck, dude? This is what I mean. Like, one, I'm kicking myself, right? Because I'm a dumbass. Because I actually believed he was only going to run for one term. And obviously that's ridiculous. And anybody who gets this kind of power is going to look for a second term. I just thought that I thought that somebody had a talk with him. I thought that somebody who said, hey, Joe, listen, probably Obama or one of Obama's people this was what I was imagining. This has turned out to be very incorrect, probably. But what I was imagining when this was all going down was somebody sat down with Joe, like right around the South Carolina, right? When all of that shit went down, right? And they said, Joe, listen, you're gonna be the nominee. But listen, you're not gonna run for president in 24. You're just not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. So if you want our support and you want to be president, you're gonna get one term. What do you think? Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So, but I thought that was kind of the motivation. I think it was more of a strategic motivation now, and I feel clumsy and dumb and naive because I didn't see this right away, and now it's so obvious to me. Essentially, nobody would have gone for it if they knew that they were locking themselves in for 8 fucking years of this horse shit. Nobody would have done it. And everybody was like, oh, we need this stability right now, but it would have made Bernie Sanders look a lot better. Okay, it would have made Biden look a lot worse, too, to think about having this guy for 8 years. It also, a lot of people thought that by supporting like Joe Biden and Kamala, as opposed to like not voting, like, people were looking for Kamala to maybe take over. And of course, I thought that would be a disaster, but that's, a lot of voters made that decision. Now, this is how he got over the hump and became president, right? Now he's pivoting and they're going to try and coordinate him essentially, right? And they're going to try and make sure, because I think they've realized how unpopular Kamala was and is and would be if she ran, and how certain it is that she would lose because she has no actual base. And she was at like, what, 3 or like, I don't think she ever got above 7% in the national election. So
yeah, dude, she had to drop out because she was losing in California to Andrew Yang.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy. So now it only makes sense that this is their way of locking in the Democratic nomination and making sure there's no threat from the left. So yeah, I mean, I'm kicking myself, right? You can fuck yourself if you think I'm voting for Joe Biden again in 2024. You can kiss my fucking ass.
Well, I think it's a good point. Everyone was saying, especially a lot of people on the right, of course, we're saying from the beginning that, Biden's going to just become president, and then, 10 days in, he'll collapse and they're going to, insert Kamala Harris. Right. And I always said, I don't really probably think that that's going to happen. I'm sure Biden will at least make it to the end of his term. Who wants to be remembered as a president that didn't even, last his entire term? That's pretty embarrassing. But if Biden does run for a second term, I do think it's much more likely that kind of thing happens where, a year into the second term, he gets diagnosed with dementia or whatever, and then they have to switch him out, kind of like
elected. I can't imagine him getting elected a second time, dude. I just don't see it happening.
I mean, I guess it really just depends on who the Republicans put up and how everything is doing in 2024. Because I mean, right now, admittedly, Biden is fairly popular just as far as approval ratings go. And if the Republicans put up someone like Trump, who just has a less than 10% less approval rating, then it might be a disaster, and it might just hand this motherfucker another election victory. What I'm fascinated to see is how the progressive left flank handles the 2024 election. I'm going to be so disappointed if no one from the progressive left tries to challenge the Biden/Harris incumbency. And we were talking about this a little bit. If Biden's going to run, then Bernie better at least jump back in the ring to heavily endorse or be the running mate of, say, Nina Turner or someone like that, who would be the, fresh, insurgent, progressive, challenging the Democratic status quo in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And again, I'm not I'm not naive enough to think that, someone like Nina Turner could single-handedly do it and take on Biden, who again might still be pretty popular by that point. But with the popularity and name recognition of Senator Sanders by her side, or, Jamal Bowman or Ro Khanna or whoever, ends up running, if Bernie lends them their support, his endorsement, or even, is their running mate, then that'll be great, because as you say, Bluebell, if not, we're probably going to get Harris and Mayor Pete, or, just more Biden.
Mayo Pete, I like that.
Mayo Pete, yeah, exactly. And that's an unacceptable state of affairs for the Democratic Party. Joe Biden, I feel like he's able to hold on to some of the more working class voters, just because he has nailed that like Scranton Joe bullshit. But Kamala Pete, that's like the epitome of West Coast elite Democratic Party stuff. That's just like the opposite of what we have to embrace as a left. And again, not that the Democratic Party is the left, but if we're going to take power at all, whether it be through a third party or a progressive insurgency, that challenge does need to be leveled at this administration, because again, despite the fact that they've been proven to be better than Trump in certain regards, it's still completely unacceptable state of affairs on so many issues. Obviously the border is one that we've been talking about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by anything that the squad does, right? But I would be interested to see if they speak out about this and talk about how, this is terrible, and a huge fucking blow to the left, right? And if he does run again, like it's a wrap, dude. Like for climate change, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like these kinds of things don't have. I mean, this is precious time, and of course we have to consider the harm that will go on for all kinds of reasons. But the clock on the climate is one that I think should be mentioned. The fact that he's nowhere near ambitious enough or taking this serious. He's so old-fashioned. His mind is not, even like Joe Biden probably, does not. There's no way that he comprehends the threat of climate change, right? And he's, definitely going to suffer more than most people, even from that whole delusion that we're going to innovate our way out of it, because for his entire lifetime we have, by no shortage of good luck and good fortune, been able to kind of innovate our way out of a bunch of terrible things for the last like 100 so years, that just about his entire lifespan. And what the problem is that people are going to expect that to go on forever, and it just won't. And climate change is going to obviously be the ultimate, chickens coming home to roost moment. But it's ridiculous that the squad isn't screaming from the trees right now and talking about how he betrayed everybody that supported him by, talking about how he was, going to not seek a second term because of his obvious, age, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I think frankly, I don't think that it's even fair to ask Bernie Sanders to put the kind of strain on his body it would take to run again at that age. And just to be honest, obviously he's in great shape, and we saw in 2020 how much he was walking and how much he was doing everything. But in another 4 years, like at some point, the man just deserves to get some rest in his golden years. You know what I mean? So I would love to see him like heavily endorse and support and work with somebody and in the next, like over the course of the next couple of years, and really build somebody up to be his like protege. The problem is I don't know who that's going to be, because I've been so disappointed by AOC and she's the only one that I think has the star power and the political celebrity to make a splash now.
I take your point on the age thing, but I also do think it's true. And this is something that I've heard from other people in that age. Is like when you have something to focus on and like almost like a mission, like a purpose to keep going, something like a presidential campaign, which Bernie actually performed pretty remarkably. That thing that kind of almost can increase your longevity. Whereas if you're just like wasting away with nothing to do, then that can actually hasten your demise, essentially, because again, you're just kind of wasting away.
Also AOC is too young. I didn't even think about that. Will she be 35 in 2024?
I thought I heard that she will just barely be.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think by inauguration day, she'll just barely be 35. You may have been making your point like she's too young, like, from an experience. Yeah, she's 31 right now, so she would be technically just old enough. That October before the election would be when she turns 35. So just for heads up for everybody.
And honestly, and also we have to keep in mind, FDR, the president that everyone always invokes to talk about progressive transformational policy, he was literally like wasting away, dying in a fucking wheelchair, and while he was president. So like, it's not like Bernie in an aging state couldn't still do things, couldn't still move the needle and get shit done. And again, even if he was just, offering his support, name recognition, and fundraising abilities, grassroots organizing, inspirational capabilities to someone like Nina Turner, for example, or AOC, or whoever on the left decides to get in and actually challenge Biden/Harris. Maybe Rokan has been doing a lot of interview circuits. He's been trying to clearly raise his profile. So that's someone that people have said might be an eventual like heir to the Bernie, to the political revolution or whatever. And obviously we can have a discussion about all these people. None of them are perfect. We have disagreements with all of them.
Bernie wasn't perfect, right?
No, not at all. Bernie was not at all perfect. And but the point is that, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, $15 an hour, legalizing cannabis, student loan debt, it would be nice to have someone like a Bernie-crat in office, and again, people like to, say that Bernie's not enough and that he's not doing enough. And I agree to a lot of it to some extent, but again, wouldn't it be nice to have motherfucking Bernie Sanders in the office right now?
Would have been amazing. So